Good. So anyway, it's 11, so we'll start. People will probably come on or not. Mostly, I just wanted to check out. First of all, if you have any questions about the weekend, or if there's anything you need, or you want to start to prepare. So Jen, I know you've read the book a lot. I was a year going through the program as well. So what's really important, I think, for this training is to really focus on chapters 1, 2, and 3. So if you can do that, and in chapter 1, really start to examine, if you can, just start to become more aware of how you're responding to the events in your life. And so you really practice E+R=O between now and BTS. It'll really put a lot of things into perspective for you. So when you get there, you can go further faster. The thing that I like about the movie, when we look at how we've been responding to the events in our life, we get outcomes. And so when we set goals, we're either getting the outcomes we want or not. It's mostly based on that concept, E+R.
Before I eat lunch.
Everything, people that are. So basically, if we haven't really gotten all the goals that we want to get, what I like to do is look at the goals that you've had, look at the events that have happened, look at how you've responded to those events, look at the outcomes you've gotten or not gotten. And what would be good to do too is to look at different areas in your life. So you talked about 7 areas. Someone is, let's see, I'm gonna mute this. Okay, so he talks about the 7 areas, right? And so basically what I'd like you guys to do is to give yourself a grade on a scale of 1 to 10. Where are you right now in each one of those areas? And then where would you like to be? I don't think that we can all be 10s all the time in every area. I find that usually my health and my relationships and my business are sort of the ones that come first and typically need the most work, honestly. So I would look at that. And then after you've taken those 7 areas, then go ahead and use E+R=O in each one of those. I think you all know what that is. If you haven't read chapter 1 of the Success Principles, you really should before you get here. And then just start to examine and journal between now and March or now and June, how you're intentionally choosing to change your R's so you can get new outcomes. So really start to use that equation in all parts of your life, because it will really, really make BTS much more fun. Okay. Anybody have any questions on that? Raise your hand if you don't have the book.
I have a question, Patty.
Sure.
About the schedule. On Sunday in Costa Mesa, what time are we finished?
We are finished right around 5 o'clock.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to try to get flights and I didn't want to miss out on anything, so.
Yeah, and there's John Wayne Airport has a lot of great flights, so.
Right. Easy. Sounds good. Thank you.
Sure. Anybody else have a question about the schedule or anything? No? Okay. All right, so again, if you can read chapters 1, 2, and 3, that would be great. And then the other thing too is I would really start to look at, when you're looking at your goals, I like to look at the goals and ask myself, why do I want that? And what will it bring me? Because lots of times what I find, especially in a weekend seminar, not everybody comes in knowing what they think they want to do. Like, what, if you guys want to share, like, what's one thing you want to accomplish at BTS? Anybody want to share that? Nobody? Anybody have any idea? Hold on, I can't. Sorry.
The question was what? It was.
So
what's BTS?
What's one thing you'd like to accomplish, or what's one reason why you're coming?
For me, I think it's gaining some clarity on exactly what my goals are, and prioritizing that, and I think just getting some motivation and confidence, I think, too.
Great. So Jen, I think we might have talked about this already, but if we didn't, I'm just going to share it with everyone. One of the things that I love for all of you to do before you come is to look at the irritations and tolerations piece. There's a chapter on that in the book. and go through your house, like literally the entire house, from your driveway to your front door to whatever it is, and make a list of things that can be done, because it's a good thing to do. So when you come back from BTS, you kind of hit the ground running and you're not distracted with a whole lot of like, oh crap, I have all this stuff to do, you know? So it's an exercise that we'll do there, but I think it's also a good exercise to do from home, so you can get ready for that. And I do it like every 18 months or so at my house or my office. And I literally have a big notebook, like one that you guys will all get. And I write front door, entryway, office, living room, and I just make a list of every little thing that needs to be fixed or redone or whatever it might be. Lots of times it's really simple stuff. It might be 3 stacks of books and bags next to the kitchen counter that my housekeeper, my husband, and I all make invisible, you know, but it sucks the energy out. If you really want to clean up that space and create some new area for yourself to really grow. All right. Does anybody else want to share? Go ahead, Boz.
Oh, okay. Mine is just, I'm sure everyone has similar ones around abundance, wealth, and finance. I really, I'm at a point in my life where things are, you know, there's a bit of a hiccup happening, and I'm trying to do what I can with what I have. And I'm hoping during this weekend that I can feel a little bit more confident in the direction that I need to go with, you know, getting that in order.
One of the things that you might want to do before you come is to bring like your financials, you know, just knowing, get as much clarity as you can around what it is you're spending, what it is you're making, what do you need to make with all the stuff that you're going through with transition. If we can get it out on paper, then it will be a lot easier when you go to strategize that goal on finances, how we can look at it from several different aspects.
Okay, great.
The more you think about it up front, so the areas that you really want to work on, like if one of them's health, I would say before you go, like get rid of everything that's bad in the house. With your pantry, your fridge, all dated stuff, all that. Just really clean out the areas where you want to excel. Because I think what's lots of times, I mean, clarity is really power, right? So we want to get as much clarity as we can, but we also can tend to feel a little bit of overwhelm when we start to really, especially in February and March. Like January, we're all like, okay, let's go, we got this. New Year's resolutions, you know, sky's the limit. And by February, it's like, oh my God, what have I done? So I just want, the more we can write down all that stuff that's going on in our heads and really put it into those different areas, the 7 areas, whether it's a belief you have, something you need to do, something you need to clean up, something you need to buy, whatever it is, but just really start to look at those, especially since we don't have, you know, 5 or 7 days together. So we're going to be jumping right in that first day. So it'll be great if you guys come with as much ammo as possible. Does anybody else have any questions or want to share what you're looking to accomplish? Anela? I have to mute you.
So in terms of, mine was also as well in terms of clarity and understanding which career path I wanted to take, and also how to go about working within all those, as well as in terms of relationships with persons, meeting new people, and also, but it was working on my personal relationships or with my colleagues or friends in general. So it's kind of holistic in terms of all the areas. It's a little bit of balancing it and kind of getting my numbers up and getting more clarity.
Are you coming with somebody or are you coming alone?
Alone. Should I come?
I recommend it. I mean, I always say, I joke, you know, my dad used to always say, a family that rides together stays together, because we were so poor. So they would just take us in the car and forever, you know, round and round and round. Yeah. But I say a family that trains together stays together. So there's a lot of, there's just a lot of stuff that sort of is transformational. So it's kind of nice to go with like a business partner or a spouse or a friend or someone that you can kind of go back and have be an accountability partner.
Okay.
There's going to be, I think there might be some special offers too, like for bring a friend. So you can check that out with the sales team, Alice or Jody or Amelia or Caleb, whoever you typically talk to. But I find it to be fun. And the thing, it's interesting because even for me, I didn't used to bring people because I felt like I got embarrassed about it. Like, oh, I don't want them to think that I'm pushing my work on them, you know? And so I didn't. And then when I started to bring my friends, they're like, why didn't you tell us about this so long ago? It's not fair. We could have been so much further, you know? So that I got over that. I think that's part of the confidence piece too. When you actually take action, that's the only way to build confidence. I mean, it really is. It's like we all know what we have to do. Now we just have to go do it. Just like kindergarten or riding your bike or anything that we did the first time. Getting your driver's license, you know. So that confidence will build. Anybody else want to share their goal or what they're looking to get?
Hi, Patty. I have, well, I guess I have a question and a goal. So for me, I'm looking to, you know, build my coaching practice more. But another piece of that is I really want to do seminars and things like that. So I think, you know, I'd like to have a great transformational seminar that I organize and facilitate coming out of Jack's training. That would be a really awesome outcome. And my question is just kind of a little more about the format, and I apologize if you covered it before we got on, but it sounds like there is opportunities for us to work through specific things. So I want to know how much of it is interactive versus how much of it, I imagine Jack will be presenting some things as well. So what's kind of the blend of working on and listening, and that's usually at these things?
There's a lot of interaction.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll do, you know, Jack might speak or I might be speaking, and then might do an exercise and then have you do it with your groups, and then just sharing and things like that. We try to make it as fun as we can. So we really schedule, and I can talk to you more about this at BTS if you want, but we schedule all of our workshops like in a certain flow. So it's always a little, you know, if it's light, then it goes a little bit deeper, then it might be a little bit heavier, then we do an energizer, or we do something lighter. So there's really a kind of a formula to build out a transformational workshop, which I can share with you. I call it like just the key ingredients. So for what you'll notice is Jack will do more, but if you were to take it down and make it really simple, for every principle, there's a why. So he's always going to explain why we're doing this, why is it important. And then he's probably going to have a stat, some sort of study that shows, you know, research shows that if you do this, so for linear people in the room. And then we'll do some sort of exercise, sharing, tell a story, and transition into the next principle or the next thing that we're going to work on. So I always said there's 5 key ingredients. If that makes sense. So if you know you have your principle that you're talking about, you know that you have a stat for credibility, you know you have your why, you know you have your exercise, you know you have a story to wrap it all up, and then you also know that you have a transition from that into what's next, because in those little transitions, if you watch him closely, he's brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
notice.
And you said there'll be small groups. So we're going to be like in the same small group, or is it kind of mix and mingle kind of thing where?
You'll be in different groups all the time. Our goal on the first day is to almost get you to have had at least one interaction with like half the group.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
So you'll meet a lot of new people. And if you guys come with a partner or a spouse or anybody, you guys are coming together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We would just say separate, don't sit by each other, because we want you to meet as many people as possible. You already know each other's stories.
Yeah,
couples tend to kind of play it safe and stick together, and it doesn't necessarily, it's not the best thing for either one of you, really. It's kind of nice to have other people and meet as many people as you can. There's a lot of resources in the room.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Are you part of the online program that we have, the Train the Trainer Online?
I'm not doing the train to trainer yet. We can only kind of afford one of them, so we did the BTS.
Yeah.
But I haven't done the train the trainer yet.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Hmm.
So we are in the online BTS one, but we're not.
Okay.
Trainer, yeah.
So make sure you fill out those, like, go through at least the first 3 or 4 of those modules if you can before you get to BTS.
Mm-hmm.
And really, when you guys set goals, like, set big goals. You don't need to, what I don't want you to do is set something that is logical. I want it to be outside your comfort zone enough so that you don't need to know how you're going to get it, but you want it. So whether it's a financial number or it's a car or it's a better relationship or whatever it is, just get as much clarity as you can. So when you get in there, we can really go much deeper with it. I mean, I share this story a lot, but if I had said, you know, when Jack and Mark and I sat down in 1989 and started brainstorming Chicken Soup for the Soul, which we didn't know the name of it, but if we had said, we're going to sell 5 million copies, which we did say, and I was like, these guys are smoking crack, you know, I mean, nobody even knows who we are. There was no internet, there's no nothing. How are we ever going to sell 5 million copies? And 500 million copies later, I'm like, okay, I'm kind of glad we went for the goal because one, it was really fun. Two, it gets your brain, really your reticular activating system, like on course and trying to figure it out. You know, what if it could happen? How could it happen? What would it need? And so forth. So it becomes kind of a fun game. And then, so I think we hit the 5 million mark. I think we sold 1.5 million in a year and a half, but then it kind of went crazy. So you never know, but it's good to go big. And I watch people set their goals big, and then as they start to chunk it down, they start changing the date on the goals, you know? So it's there to create some pressure, but not so much that you freeze. So there is that, you know, I like to say with every goal, there's a minimum target and outrageous number. So number or thing or whatever it is. Weight. I did a call yesterday. It was kind of interesting. We were talking about diet and, you know, if I just lost that 10 pounds or I just made this extra money, then you do it and everything's still the same. So it's really about the transformation that we experience within ourselves more than anything else, and being able to sort of let go of the shoulds and the can'ts and be open to laughing at ourselves if we need to, but really bringing more joy too into our lives. So, and the training is very, very fun. You'll leave with 100 new friends for sure.
That's cool. And would you advise just sticking to one goal, or is it okay to maybe have 2 or 3 goals and kind of work on each of those? Or is that too much to kind of take on?
For me, what I typically do is I'll pick 1 or 2 areas, like a professional area and a personal area to work on at one time. And then I might focus on that for the quarter and then go to the next things, and just based on the priority that it takes. Like if I don't feel good, then I can't work smart, you know, so I need to have clear head. So that means I need to go to sleep at a certain time. I need to eat certain foods. I need to take my vitamins, get my exercise, all that stuff. So I always look at how do they play off of each other as well. If that makes any sense?
Yes, thank you.
Sure. Anything else?
No, do you have anything to say? Okay.
We'll get you speaking of a lot more when you get there, don't worry. All right, so is there anybody else that wants to share their goal? Or let's see, Lily says, for me, I'm going because I want to build more confidence, clarity, and connection with people. That's great, because that's exactly what you're going to get. And again, the more you come in with at least having an idea of what it is you want. And I say, I use this analogy with one of my men's groups, but I said, he said, I created a fairy tale vision board like you told me to. And it was really like, I said, just act like you don't necessarily need to, just don't overthink it, but also just, I would like what you were saying, John, do you pick 1 or 2? I just probably start brainstorming a bunch of goals in every area. And then I just pick a couple, like do it between now and then bring those few that you think are really the priority into that. If you guys haven't read The Passion Test by Janet Atwood, that's a good book to read. Talks about your 10 top passions, and then you narrow it down to their top 5, and then in that order. And then looking at how to live that passionate, purposeful life. So the other thing too about life purpose, so if you've already gone through that module, great. If you're, is anybody struggling with their life purpose? Yes, okay. So I like to do this. There's an exercise in the book called the paper pencil exercise. And it's like list your 2 top qualities. And so what I would do if I were all of you is I would take a picture of that page and I would send it to 3 or 4 of your friends or colleagues or family members and ask them to fill it out for you. Because so often what I find is that what we're naturally good at is our purpose, but because we're good at it, we think it's too easy. And so then we try to make it hard. And I watch people struggle with that. So for me, for example, I mean, first of all, I'll tell you a quick story, but I was driving home from the office one night. I only live about 2 blocks from Jack. So I had little kids at the time. So I thought I'm going to circle around a few more times because I would say I'd go from one chicken coop to the next. And so he called me and said, hey, I need your life purpose. I'm doing a call in 15 minutes. I want to use you as an example. And I said, what? I get to have a purpose? I thought your purpose was my purpose. So, I was always looking at his, like, he had it all articulated perfectly. And really what I love to do is help people, cheer people on, strategize, connect, and all those things I was already doing. I just didn't know it because my job title was secretary or operations manager or, whatever it was at the time. So it's really important to just think about that piece. Like, well, what if it was something that, if you could do what you love and make money doing it, that's the question for me. How do I make that happen? All right. So, thanks, Jen. She says you're great at it. So really that's the thing. And I would say, okay, so John, I'm going to use you for an example because you're in the training business. So one of the things that we did with our high-end lecture retreats, you might have heard, if you heard the story, I apologize, but I was in this house and it was costing a fortune. And I was like, oh my gosh, what would I do? What would I do? What would I do? And I thought, well, if I was my own client, I'd say run a workshop there because it was a beautiful spot for a retreat. And so by me having to be so uncomfortable in my financial end, I decided to turn my house into a retreat center. And I charged, like, it's $15,000 for the weekend. And I thought, well, I was totally freaked out. I won't lie. I was really scared. But I also thought, well, if I have like 6 people, it'll cover everything. I mean, it'll justify Jack flying from Los Angeles to Maui. And then if I have 15, and then if I have 24. And so by chunking down some of those things that are a little bit more scary for me, I was able to go, okay, I can get 5 people. I'm sure I can get 5 yeses. So I just had to really baby step it in a way. And then I tell people that was like 16 or 17 retreats ago. So it turned out to be a great way to monetize the business. And it's a huge revenue generator for us now. So lots of times, if we're only looking at how am I to get from here to here doing what I'm already doing, you're probably not. And so it's really, that's where it takes some extra expertise. That's where I come in lots of times at Breakthrough to Success or on calls like this when you have questions, but trying to look at everything you do from every single angle, because you really want it. Fresh eyes are always really good. It's sometimes the most obvious thing to me is something that you might have been struggling with for 3 years. But what might be obvious to you, for me, same thing. It's vice versa. So it's why it's great to also have a lot of group sharing and, small group exercises and so forth. So sky's the limit, people. If you're going to go big. So what else? Anybody else have a question they want answered? Anybody want to know any facts about Jack Canfield that have never been read or posted before? Anything at all? Let's see. You can always put it in the chat as well. And then again, if you weren't on the call, I recommend that, if you are working, you have a business partner or something like that, I would definitely try to bring them. Anella?
I was going to ask, in terms of the accountability partner, amongst my friends and even family, if I mention Jack Canfield, the book, a lot of people don't know who that is. And I've had this book for so long, and while I'm like sharing the success principles and even on my page, it's like, how do you know who to bring as your accountability partner? Because one of the reasons I'm coming is to meet other like-minded persons and network.
So you'll meet a bunch of people there, and we'll tell you that you start on day one, start really looking at what it is that you need in an accountability partner. And I would try to get somebody on the same time zone or close, or someone that has strengths where you're weak. It's nice to not we don't have to know everything. And our accountability partner is mostly there just to keep us accountable. It's like you say you're going to do something and you don't do it 5, 10, 15 days in a row, the next question is like, is this really important to you? You know, and so what didn't you do or didn't you ask for that you needed to do or ask for to help you get to the next place? And so we're going to do a little mastermind group. So we'll do an experience there that you'll all have, and it'll be in your workbook as well. Oh, cool. John's bringing his son. That's great. His first year of college. He doesn't know what he wants to do with his life. Who does their first year of college? I didn't know when I inserted an ad as a secretary for Jack in the LA Times. That was a good yes, though. Okay, so Jen's saying to contact her, and Ella.
Okay, great. Jen, I think I'm going to be at the DC one, Washington, DC.
Well,
yeah.
You guys could still start. I mean, if you wanted to start now, you could. I mean, do you both have BTS online?
Yeah.
Does anybody not have Breakthrough Success online that's on this call? You can put it in the chat. You don't have it, Chantal? Huh. Okay.
I missed all of the prior calls. So this is the first call that I'm attending, and I haven't had access to the other stuff. So I might have it in my email and I didn't see it, but no, this is my first call. So I'm sorry.
It's okay. We're just talking about getting ready. So, as long as you're getting ready for BTS, are you coming to?
The California one, the Costa Mesa, and I'm bringing one of my friends.
Oh, good. Well, just make sure that you both read chapters 1 through 3 of the Success Principles. That'll help.
I will read it. I can't confirm for her, but I will.
I'm not saying read all 66 chapters, just the first 3. But it's kind of nice going in feeling like you kind of know where you're going, and it is kind of a clear path. So the more clarity you have around what you want, I just think, especially for women, we don't take the time to ask ourselves, what do we really want? We think about what we should do. We think about our kids. We think about our spouses. We think about the people that we work with, and we always put ourselves last. I think men do that at some level too, but they're just more matter of fact. So it's important to dream big during this week. All right. So let's see. Anybody else have any questions or anything that they want to share? Fazia.
Just a question around, as you know, I'm taking train to trainer. So when I'm sitting in this environment, what else could I do? I mean, I'm assuming that a lot of what's going to be shared is going to be similar to if you want to be a coach. Mm-hmm. So from an observation point, is that something that I should be honing in on, or just?
Yeah, I think a couple things to think about. One is Jack's presence on stage. How you posture. You really being a solid presence on stage is really important. 80% of everything that an audience walks out of the room with, they walk because of. And so you want to look at how he's processing people, and also pay attention to his transitions from one topic to another. Those are really important things. You'll notice too, like when someone's talking to him, how he's listening. Like he's not quick to come back at someone. He really lets them kind of talk, which is it's a great skill set. It's one that is very difficult to learn just online. It's a presence that you want to be focusing on. So yeah, that's a good question. You're welcome. Anybody else have any questions? Anything at all? You can put it in the chat if you want. Chantal?
No, sorry. No question.
Ozzy, it looks like you got something on your mind. What is it? Hold on a second.
So I've started the modules, and I'm only on step 1. I guess the part that I understand the concept around accountability partner, but even from the first one, module 1, step 1, the power of mindset. So honestly, when I listen to people and I watch their, observe and so forth, I can easily pick up where they would need help and assistance. But I'm constantly catching myself still in my old habits of, the example was if you're being called into the office, the first thing that jumps in, okay, well, what could that be about? And it's nothing positive that's kind of rushing through my head. I know I've coached people in the past about, this is how you would, but catching myself is the biggest challenge. How do you, other than being consciously aware of it, what else can I do?
Well, a couple things. I mean, one is, you can send me a chapter for my book, Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. No, I'm just kidding. So look, we're all human, right? And so we're not going to do everything right all the time. So the thing really is when you go off course, just if something like throws you for a loop, or it's like if I'm on a diet and I eat a piece of cake, the rest of the day I'm going to eat whatever I want because it's like, well, I already had the cake. But the real response, or the better response for me would be, I did that. Okay, so let it go. It was good. Be grateful. Move on. Get back on course. And so that's kind of just, it's really about how long we stay out in that area of spinning. We don't, when an event happens, when we respond in a bad way or in a way that we shouldn't, it's like there's a lot of little mini responses that happen up into that real response, right? We have thoughts. We might have a story come into our head. It's like if somebody walks in your office and they're giving you the cold shoulder, you might immediately think, oh, it's me. And it could very well be them, but you haven't said, wait, stop. This is not about me. What if it's not about me? Okay, my response is check in. How are you? Are you good? Is there a problem? Be more proactive, right? So we always know what to do. We just tend to put it off or sometimes just don't want to do it because it's a bad day or whatever it is. I always say if I wake up and feel like I don't want to go to the office, I just don't go because it would be completely not productive. So I ask myself, what else is on my list of things that I could do today that either doesn't need brain power or as much energy or whatever it might be. But it's that guilt and shame piece that you want to let go of, like not, so like we shame ourselves so much and it's really a total waste of time. I said this yesterday, I think you were on the call, but at HeartMath, they just did a study, and for every 5 minutes that you have a bad thought or anger or negative, you have 8 hours where it affects your immune system and your longevity. So it's like, it's why happy people look younger. Sometimes I say, if I have to scare you straight, like, do you want to look like an old prune? Then keep having those thoughts. But if you can say, wait, I'm going to stop having that thought. I'm going to flip it into from fear to gratitude, or you just have to start to trick yourself. Listen to positive videos. I've been watching a ton of TED Talks and YouTube videos on just different topics. I just did, were you on my call yesterday? I did a workshop for my permission granted group, and we talked about being present over perfect. Because so often we're trying to show up and be all this, but we're not in our bodies, we're not grounded, and so we're missing out. For me, in my work, I used to think when I was at work, I felt like I should be at home. When I was at home, I felt like I should be at work. And I was never really totally 100% present anywhere. And so I had to make a decision. All right, if I'm going to have to be here anyway, then I might as well just put all that other stuff out there because it's a waste of space. I can worry about my kids, but they're taken care of. So I have to just sort of start to compartmentalize. And negative habits are negative thinking. There's a book called The Power of Habit. If you haven't read it, it's a great book. And it talks about how everything is just a habit, which is actually really good news because lots of times we think, lack of confidence at some level is just a bad habit thought process. We can look at it from so many different ways. Those people that have so much confidence, you're thinking, are they like when they don't really deserve to have it? I want to be like that. So it really is all about choosing and then looking at what that opportunity cost is when we don't choose the right path to support us, or we have the wrong thoughts, or whatever it is. And it's not easy, but the more you become aware of it, the more you have a chance to do a redo.
Sorry, what was that 5-minute piece that you just said earlier?
The so every 5 minutes that you're angry or in like a negative thought process, it can affect your immune system up to 8 hours, which is no bueno, you know.
Hey, Patty, who wrote that book that you just said?
The Power of Habit.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't know. I think I have it. It's a little yellow book, and I want to say it has like a red like bullseye on it. And it's an easy read, but it's really good. I really enjoyed it.
What did you say it was called?
I'll put it in the chat. It's called The Power of Habit. It's a really good book. I don't know who it's by. I'm looking to see if I have it here somewhere.
Patty, it's Charles Duhigg.
I've never heard of that person, but that's okay. Yep, that's it.
It is a good one.
Oh, so you have it?
Uh-huh. I read it. Well, I haven't, I don't own it, but yes, I've read it.
Yeah, it's good. Let's see if there's anything else in here. What will you do after the training and have clarity about my purpose? So John, you're saying, what will it take to walk away after the training and have clarity about my life purpose? Say more about that. You're on mute. You can unmute yourself. If you're on your phone, you can hit *6. So I don't know what that means. All right, so let's see. Anybody else have any other questions for me today? Mallard, you're over there in the dark. What are you up to? You there? Mallard? Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good. This will be my third BTS, and there's somebody who's been to a couple of them. It's well worth the investment. In fact, you may remember my company's got, I think we're coming up on 20 plus train the trainers. It's been really transformative for our business too, not just me personally, to take it to our team of 1,300 folks. I only have one question, but I'm not sure it's relevant to here. Y'all have such great cartoons that you show to keep us laughing, and I cannot find a source where I can find those. Is that something you can share?
So, I mean, we've been collecting cartoons for like 30, 40 years. I didn't even know. I always thought that you could just go to a cartoon section.
Right.
So I go to like cartoonbank.com, the New Yorker, Ziggy. I just Google the different pictures that way. But Jack's always collecting cartoons.
Very good. Yeah, I found the ones that have some like Calvin and Hobbes copyright stuff, some of those, but he has some very unique ones, and they're always worth a giggle. That's one thing in my own trainings. We're trying to interject some of that on the front end to get people in the right spirit. So,
well, that's important.
I appreciate all the work you do.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, because that's an important piece too. That's why Jack starts off every workshop he does with cartoons, because laughter really kind of gets people to loosen up and like get comfortable. So that first half day is really all about creating a very, very safe space for people to really feel like they're connected, which is important.
Yes, and as somebody who at the first BTS was not a hugger, it was a big transition for me. But now, our organization does it annually. I work with seniors, and we had some pretty cool stuff happen. So anyway, it's great. It's great work. Everybody should be very excited. It can be very transformative.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. You've been a great support.
Sure.
All right. Thanks for sharing that. Anybody else want to share anything? So I have to call on you guys. Brenda or Douglas or Amy. Brenda, what are the hours or daily schedule for BTS? First day, I think we started at 8:30, and it goes to about 5:30 or 6. And that'll be probably the average that you can kind of count on. I would not schedule anything at night if you don't have to, because you're going to want to probably hang out with a lot of your newfound friends. So if you think you have a friend in DC or a friend in Costa Mesa, and so you're going to hook up after the training, you're probably going to regret that if you do it. So I wouldn't make any plans. I'd keep your calendars open so you can enjoy the group. It's a different energy when you're there and then not there. You know, sometimes if I come in on the third day, I almost feel out of place. Not anymore, but I used to. So I recommend that. Great, that's exactly why I asked. Okay, yeah. Brenda, don't make plans. There's so much that's going on during the day. I mean, it's really fun. It's really engaging, but it's also, you just want to be available, you know, for yourself, especially. And it can be a little tiring.
Patty, do they have organized get-togethers after hours, or just people just kind of mingle on their own? How does that work?
They organize get-togethers after hours. They go to dinner together. Costa Mesa, there's a ton of restaurants. It's right there, close to Newport Beach, so it's a beautiful area. DC, there's tons of places too. So yeah, people just get together and have fun. It's really nice because it's 3 days of just allowing you to connect with each other. And I think we're missing a lot of that connection. And I think that's why live workshops are so important, because it brings people together for that community and allows you. I don't think there's ever been a workshop that I've gone to, even if I'm running it, but if Jack's speaking, when I ask myself, what's one thing I need to get from this today? Always I get something big, which says that I don't always ask myself that question, but I try to. So it's a really good training. You're gonna all love it. Everyone, this is it'll be like my 35th BTS. And they're always great every single time. Almost all my best friends I met at a training. So I look forward to seeing all of you in person. All right, anything else before we go? Any questions at all? My spouse and I are, okay, so Lily, okay, great. Oh, great, so Lily, you're gonna go and then your spouse is volunteering at the same training.
Yeah, that's correct. Should be a good one. Yeah. Yeah.
The room is so big that, I mean, it's not so big. It's big enough where I think people think, oh, if I bring someone, there might be something I don't want to say, or I do want to say. So if you're having any thoughts like that, just know that we will definitely, you will get spread out. You don't have to be right next to the person that you bring with you. And it's also nice to be able to go. I know for Jack and I, when he would go to a workshop and I didn't go, he'd come back and be all, I call it jacked up and all excited. And I'm like, ah, I had 47 calls today. And, so it's like we were in different places. So we just decided at some point, maybe we should just go to these trainings together, because then we can work on our work. So like strategic coach we did together. All of our mastermind groups, John Asraf and different people, we went together. So we try to do that because it gives you really great focus time for things that you're doing collectively.
The question, if you don't have somebody else that you're answering.
No, go ahead.
So I'm bringing my daughter, who is 23. She's in her last semester of college. And she's just really, this last semester has hit, she's very brilliant. She speaks like 6 or 7 languages. She's got some great plans after with travel and more foreign language, but she's really struggling now that this last semester has hit. And I think it's like making decisions about, do I want to do grad school, or do I want to this or that? And it's really made her like, I think, her primitive brain is really just trying to protect her, but she's just really struggling with being motivated to move forward. And so I just wondered what you think she might be. I think this is going to be an amazing experience for her, but like what I might be able to recommend other than, the reading the book and so forth, but just for her specifically to get kind of through until she gets to BTS.
Well, I think the passion test probably would be something good for her to read. My son's graduating from college this year. They're all having a nervous breakdown. It's like, I need the job. I'm like, oh my God, you're 21 years old. Like I was like working and going to school and dropping out and dropping in like till I was 24, so,
Right.
And I just got lucky on some level that I found Jack, and I loved the fact that he gave me the space to I knew how to program. I knew how to create slides. I knew how to do all the stuff he didn't know then, because it's like what a 23-year-old is today to us.
Right.
I was a technologically savvy one. So I was able to export things and create a new Apple network and upgrade all of his stuff. And he would just go on the road and call in at night and say, this is how many things I sold and what'd you do? And I did the Rule 5 today. I wrote this many articles or whatever. But for me, what I noticed was when I had the freedom to just work myself, I can't work in a cubby. I mean, it's just not me. It's like I would joke because my son said that to me one time. He called me and said, Mom, going to school in St. Louis after living in California, well, it would be like you having a cubicle job. Like, wow, that's a bad one. It's a good analogy, but it's not going to get you home. But they put so much pressure on themselves that it creates anxiety that feels like depression. And so what she can get excited about is starting to clearly look at what does she love to do? When is she most lost in time? And it just time flies. That's what we want to find out. And that's what we want to figure out how to follow that and monetize that. And if that means travel for 2 years after college, do it. I have learned more in a 3-week Middle Eastern tour than I learned in an entire lifetime, honestly. And so by having travel to different countries and do things like that, I had no idea the awarenesses and the experiences that I would have. You know, some of my best ideas have come from being in other countries. So I would encourage, the old school way is like, no, you got to get a job and do this. But, these kids today, they're doing 3, 4, 5 side hustles at a time,
Yeah. Well, and she is going this summer. She's spending the summer in France in a Hmong diaspora. She's learning Hmong. And then she's going for a year to teach English in Cambodia. She speaks fluent Cambodian. So, I mean, she's got like the next year already mapped out doing something that she is so passionate about, working with third world countries and helping them learn English in order to advance, like she's got these great ideals and she's got this great plan going forward, but just this final semester of school. And I think the fact that the rest of it is unknown is just so overwhelming to her. Going forward. So I think it's because after that, she doesn't know what she wants to do once she gets back from Cambodia. So I think it's the same thing that you were just saying. She's just kind of worrying about it now instead of in a year and a half when she's back.
Yeah. And one of the things that I would say to her is like, wherever you are, be present. So, I've told you this story, I think before, but I remember being on my publisher's plane and I was at the top of my game and I was only 30 and I was so concerned about what was happening when I got home or what didn't happen before I left or whatever. And I was never fully embracing the realness of my life. I mean, it almost felt like it wasn't even happening at some level because I would just be numb to it.
Right.
So I had to really start to look at, do I want to live like that? Or if some leadership books will be good for her. Like really learning to live in ambiguity is a great skill set. And it's hard because kids they're being slammed so hard with education that they have these schedules that don't let them think like an entrepreneur as much as they are totally able to. It's just creating that new habit of doing it. So I would tell her, enjoy yourself. And if you get back in a year and you don't know what you want to do, so you live with us and figure it out, but don't sweat it.
Okay.
You need to figure it out. I mean, if we knew how in the current moment, we would. So if that's where the stress comes from, the not knowingness. So if she gets more clarity on whether it is what she loves to do or that it's okay to not know, it is okay to not know. It's okay to ask for things like that. So hopefully that will help.
For sure. I'll let her know. Thank you.
Welcome. Anybody else have anything? Douglas, Brenda, Lily, John, Chantal, anything else?
Well, I would say it's going to sound weird, but one of my goals, I guess, for attending the weekend is my expertise is in computer programming. So soft skills is something that's difficult for me, I guess. And so even asking me what's my life's purpose, I'm like, I don't know. I feed my kids. They're growing. I guess I'm reaching my purpose, but it's not really my life's purpose. I have a hard time kind of figuring out what's my true purpose? What are really my goals? Like, I know what I want, but it's hard to kind of put into words and put a plan in place and figure out which direction I want to take. So I don't really know how to prepare for this so that I show up with, a little bit more substance than just not knowing anything.
Well, I think if you listen to the audio tape or you read the chapter again, if you take that one page of life purpose where it says fill in these blanks, give it to your kids or a couple of your employees or your spouse or whatever you want to do. Because lots of times, again, our best qualities that we have are typically it's intertwined with our purpose. So like, I love to connect people. I love to help solve problems. I love to be a resource and, like brainstorm. Like I can live in the unknown forever because I had to survive that way. Just to try to build our company in the beginning with chicken soup because it was so difficult to do. So so think about that for you. Like, when are you just feeling like you're just in the zone, or you're helping someone, or like whenever you feel like you have joy. And it doesn't need to be like, when I did the passion test the first time, I did it with Lisa Nichols. Her and I were doing it together. We're both speaking a lot on the road. We both have little kids. And we realized like our kids were not in our top 5. They should be, but they weren't. And it was okay. At that point in time, it was like building the business, focusing on the house, like getting your foundation together. But that changes over time, like there's times where I'm passionate about a message and then I feel like I'm done with it. It's kind of like when the kids watch Barney and then they don't want to watch it anymore because they're over it, And so it can change over time too. So your purpose and your passions will definitely change over time. But when you can get those two things in alignment together, it becomes easier. It's in flow. So have other people fill that up for you, like what they think your unique qualities are, and then send me some questions or send me copies, and I can talk to you about looking at that before you get there if you want to do that.
Oh, that'd be great. I think I'm going to lead with that one thing that you said, what makes me feel joy? And I think it's going to help me kind of figure it out, because I pressed a reset on my life about 2 years ago and I'm still trying to figure things out. So,
well, here's what happens sometimes when we don't have the safety net of like a regular job, or we are in transition of any kind. Our brain is automatically going to try to protect us. And so what I like to say is like, just, again, it's easier said than done, but don't think about the how. Just think about what it is that you love and leave it at that. Because if you think about the how, it's going to stop you from really even saying out loud what your biggest goal is. One of the things when people would, I would get in a car and we'd be in a limo or a taxi or something, and they'd say, so what do you guys do? And I would immediately clam up and not, as Jack would be like, oh, I'm the best. I'm the chicken soup guy. And I'm like, I'm a chicken soup lady. I mean, let's face it, we've done the same amount of books together. But it was hard for me to say what I did. I always felt like smaller or embarrassed and less than. And I guess at some point I was thinking that he was just going to like pull me up and cheer me on. That was my job. And so finally at one point I said, how come you never want to help support me or something? He said, okay. He's like, if you ever find a man that's a mind reader, send him my way. I'll study him to an inch of his life so I can like learn whatever I need to learn. But if you don't ask, I just don't know. So if you want something, you got to ask for it. And
makes sense.
And sometimes it's hard, but the more you ask, the easier it gets. That I can promise you.
All right.
So make sure
Very
that
helpful.
over to Patty, we'll send it to Patty at Jack Canfield, your life purpose. Okay. Like just have people fill it out for you, and you can fill out, just make it up. Don't struggle with it. Just whatever comes out first, and then send it to me. Okay.
I will do that.
All right. All right. Anything else before we go? Any last question?
Okay,
Yeah. So Stephanie had a question.
Sure.
I just wondered if you could explain living with ambiguity just a little bit more, what you mean by that.
So I'll use an example. So the average entrepreneur, doesn't, like Steve Jobs, didn't know how everything was going to work, but was willing to live in that space of, if I just keep at it, I'll get the clarity I need and I'll figure it out and it'll happen. Right. Other people, like an accountant, typically would be like, I need to know. So that's not the kind of person that is necessarily going to want to sit around and brainstorm with you, because they just need to know that 1 + 1 always equals 2. But for somebody like me who's more entrepreneurial, I'm like, well, if it could happen, well, if we could create it, what would it look like? And I go like crazy in my ideas. And again, lots of times, but that can scare people too, that side. So I've had to learn how to bring in ideas a little bit less, more graceful, I guess I would say. Like Jack says, you scare the hell out of your team. And I don't mean to, I just get really excited. And so, so that's what I mean. So when you can, if you can live in the not knowing and be good with yourself and trust a little bit. I mean, I'm not saying like, don't go walking into a blazing fire, not knowing how you're not going to burn, but just like sitting in, it's okay to not have total clarity. Because if I just let my mind settle down and I practice some mindfulness, then that's when the clarity is going to show up. But if our brains are in worry mode and our adrenaline's going, it's just like a blocker completely. Does that help for you, Steph?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and Patty, I have something else real quick too. Is that my thing might be perhaps the opposite of what Chantel is talking about. My thing is I have so many things that speak to my soul, so many things I want to do, that I find myself kind of all over the map sometimes because I want them all right now. So what's your advice for someone who has all these different great ideas and loves them all and doesn't have time to do them all and just wants them all right now?
Give me an example of like 3.
Well, so I get the coaching practice. I want to do seminars. I'm actually a therapist, and so I want to do therapy trainings. And so I've got all these, even in the coaching space, I have about 2 or 3, 4 different programs that I want to run and I've thought of and I've made notes and developed. So I've got all these different angles of things that I can do, and I'm trying to, give time to each of these areas or 1 or 2 of them, but just sometimes I'll go with one. This didn't work out. I'm going to go with this one, and this work out better. And I mean, in my mind, I want all of them at once, and so it's hard for me to decide which one to focus on and put the other ones in the back burner because all of them are important to me.
Okay, so that's a good question. So is speaking on there as well?
Yeah, professional speaker.
So what I would do is I would look at, I would look at your therapy and your speaking as like solid things, because I think speaking is going to get you the most leverage, really. If you're on a stage, people get to see you. Those are the warmest leads. So I would make that a priority. And then if you're already doing therapy, and then there's no reason that you can't be doing all of these things at once. I think what I would do, where you might be getting stuck, is just start to reframe the way you're thinking about coaching. So think about like if you're doing a therapy session, that could be one-to-one coaching session, or it could be a one-to-many coaching session like this kind of format. Mm-hmm. And then I would look at, if I did this, how much would I want to make in each area? And I'd just come up with a dollar figure. And then I'd back into that dollar figure. Like, well, like I'll look at something like the one luxury year-long program that's $25K per couple. Okay, if I have 10 of those, that's that. Then if I do 10 speaking engagements, that's, $50,000, and I get in front of a lot of new people that I didn't know, and they're all women because that's more my market. Or if I want to do a branding weekend like I just did in Santa Barbara, that's 10,000 and there's only 10 people. Chunk things down. And then I look at who's already in my circle and who can I tell and share my vision with. Because if you don't let everybody know what you're doing, they don't know that you have your services are available to offer to them. That help?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. And we'll back into more of that stuff too, but I would just really encourage all of you to dream like that for a little bit before you come. If life was perfect, it means you're retired. Put it down. I mean, if you don't say it or tell somebody, no one can help you. So that's what I would say for that. All right. Yeah, me too. Multiple things. There's probably lots of ways that all those things can come together and are very similar. It's just a matter of looking at them from a different angle, I promise. Because your coaching content could be your blogging content, could be your keynote content. So it's really not reinventing the wheel every time, but how do you scale and spread it out, go wider sometimes.
I think the biggest problem is time management because you only have so much time. So you have to focus on something, get something done. There's only so much time you have to devote to everything. So that's the biggest thing is, okay, what do I just need to focus, get one part done, and then I get another part done instead of one and all.
That's why it's really good too to look at that free focus and buffer days, so your free days you're off and you're resting your brain. Your focus days you're actually like either coaching, speaking, therapizing. And then your buffer days are putting together your program. So it's not like, I don't try to do all of that stuff in one day. Like if I do calls, I have 5 or 6 mastermind groups. I do those mostly like in 1 or 2 days. And then the rest of the week goes to something else. I think it's important to know that for every hour that you train, you're probably going to spend at least 4 hours working on the content. It's just kind of a typical. And then sometimes we just have to go the extra mile. It's with Chicken Soup, it was a night job, and self-esteem seminars was the day job. And so we worked a lot of hours for that to happen. Online, train the trainer online, BTS online, all those things, that huge, massive chunks that we're all consuming, but they paid off at the end. So it's just you kind of want to prioritize them. Some it's like there's time, there's money, and then there's passion, and there's that, making that difference, that impact. So it's really trying to figure out for you where that lays, and we'll go through that a little bit, the workshop. But I'd probably try to prioritize that. And sometimes when you're first starting out in speaking, you have to go where the money is. And then, for me, I try to compartmentalize. If I have a goal and I need to raise a certain amount of money, I'll say, I'll do one thing to make that money happen. So then when I'm rolling out my plan for whatever this big, new, crazy idea is, I'm not freaking out about the money because I somehow came up with it up front. So I kind of compartmentalize my goals into money buckets, and if that makes sense. I mean, it's just a way, otherwise I get a little bit overwhelmed with how much is it costing me to do it and that kind of thing. And when my brain goes there, it's not effective at all. So I have to really be strategic.
Thank you.
Welcome. All right, everybody. Well, I look forward to seeing you at BTS, and I'll see you again probably one time before that if you're coming in March. If not, I'll see you in June. And if anybody has any questions, you can email me, and I'll just put this to everybody. At Patty@JackCanfieldOfficial.com. All right, so have a great, what is today, Thursday? Have a great rest of the week and weekend, and take care. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Pat.